everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Carshénah with versefilmsproductions, and you made it back to another edition of Kill Count right here on the channel. Stick around and let's count down. Decapitation, dismemberment, demons, dragons, zombies, impalement, possessed pigs, and flesh-eating worms all featured in the Bible. This well-loved horror classic also tops the reading lists of a diverse group of public figures ranging from Hillary Clinton to Alice Cooper and Mark Wahlberg.
The cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down.
In fact, the most recent Harris poll once again named the Bible as America's all-time favorite tome. Despite originating more than 3,000 years ago and taking 1,500 years total to write, it seems tailored to our zeitgeist. The narrative is rooted in the same bloody cycle of violence and retribution that drives Game of Thrones and any one of your favorite horror movies. It contains tales of the supernatural that would chime perfectly as plot lines in American Horror Story or a low-budget Blumhouse flick. Yet the Bible is much more than a series of self-help instructions. Within its pages are epic adventures, fables and history, heroes and villains, nightmares and visions.
Going to destroy it. The whole city. What if there were 50 good people in Sodom? Will they suffer the same fate as the wicked?
With the dark side of the divine emphasized as much, if not more, than the light. No one's going to buy into religion if it's boring. When Jesus says, "Except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe." That's John 4:48. In keeping with the rest of scripture, much of the horror is coded. A prime example is the zombie invasion of Jerusalem glossed over in Matthew 27. Many bodies of the saints which slept arose and came out of the graves after his resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared unto many. Some of the horror is more explicit, designed specifically to demonstrate the almightiness of God when it comes to smiting his foes. If you want to look into more Bible study, look no further with this kill count of biblical proportions. Archaeologist Joel P. Kramer from his show Expedition Bible has some interesting scientific and biblical research and perspectives to not only fact-check the Bible for skeptics, but to share the wonders of God with the very popular stories like Sodom and Gomorrah, or Moses in the burning bush, and countless others. He puts it to the test for our modern eyes.
Well, what's really intriguing then is that they found a burn destruction across the cemetery that happened at the same time that the city was destroyed. So the city and the cemetery were destroyed in the same fire disaster.
His show's theme is evidence, context, experience. In June 2022, Joel visited the archaeological site of Baba Dra, which is Sodom and Gomorrah, also associated with the name Gomorrah.
Okay, so I'm just leaving the cemetery of Baba Dra, that is Sodom, and I'm driving about 8 miles to the south to another excavated site identified as the biblical city of Gomorrah.
We start with Sodom and Gomorrah in the book of Genesis, chapters 18 through 19. Chapter 18 sees the newly named Abraham and his wife, Sarah, with the rest of their camp outside the gates of the cities when 3 angels appear.
Welcome. Lord, sit for a while in the shade and then eat with me.
One angel is presumed to be Jesus himself, with 2 of his angelic hosts, who he will later send to wreak havoc on the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. The angel tells 99-year-old Abraham that his 90-year-old wife Sarah will have a child of promise who shall be called Isaac. Sarah laughs because of her old age, and then the angel reminds the elderly couple that there is nothing impossible with God. And as the angels finish their what seems to be a lunch break before they go on their journey, the angel says he can't hide the thing he's set to do to the wicked city. Abraham has a nephew, Lot, who instead of staying with Abraham and his caravan, set out and made a name for himself in Sodom, along with his wife, his 2 daughters, his sons-in-laws, for which every movie depiction shows them as young girls, no more than maybe 10 or 12 years old. But it is not explicitly known, and never do they show the sons-in-laws, but we will take it that they declined to go with Lot and flee and stayed in the city. This sets up Abraham pleading with the angel, peradventure, that if 50 righteous men were found in the city, the Lord will save them. The Lord replies, if 50, I'll save. But Abraham is too wise to know that Sodom is just a city that just can't be saved. So he keeps pleading until he reaches the number 10. And yet the Lord still says he'll save the city for 10 righteous people.
Lord, forgive me. And for 10?
Yes, even for 10 good people. I will spare the rest.
Not What are you doing? Who are these people?
They need our help. I'll do what I can for you.
But if you count Lot, his wife, his 2 daughters, that's a total of 4 people. So bring on the hot rocks. In Genesis 19, we see, "Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground." That's verses 24 through 25. But his wife looked back from behind, and she became a pillar of salt. Verse 26. The cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were populated by the unrighteous. Genesis doesn't go into specifics, just says their sin was grievous. However, Isaiah chapter 1, on the other hand, gives a full rundown of the crimes. Pointless blood sacrifices and feasts, murder, bribery, ignorance, rebellion, and diluting wine with water. What were they thinking? God decided the only way to stamp out the iniquity was the ancient equivalent of nuking them off the face of the earth by raining fire and brimstone, which is sulfur, on the cities and surrounding plains. Imagine the horror of a massive volcanic explosion equivalent to 100 atomic bombs. Then there's the chilling footnote about Lot's wife, one of the very few survivors who glanced back as she fled and was turned to a pillar of salt. Now, anyone would know, just keep running forward. Why? She looked back. Was she transformed from the feet up or the head down? Well, however, she's still visible to this day, a rock pillar gazing mournfully over the Dead Sea at Mount Sodom. The annihilation of Sodom and Gomorrah is one of the most dramatic and horrifying episodes in the Old Testament and has captured the imaginations of artists as diverse as John Martin, his 1852 painting, and others alike. There are no volcanoes in that area.
And there's no reason why an army would attack a bunch of graves and burn a cemetery. And so this was one of the major reasons that they interpreted the destruction here as being caused by a natural disaster.
Either which is the only other place where sulfur or brimstone is found, because brimstone came down from heaven. Sulfur balls only would be preserved in water because when they strike the land, everything will burn up. When it's sparked with fire, you can see how easily the dew burns. Anything flammable would have burned, but hitting the water of the Dead Sea would have extinguished it, sinking down to the bottom, being preserved in a geological state at the bottom. It's unbelievable that skeletons and bones just sat there underground and above ground for thousands of years, basically unchanged or untouched. He has a great channel with great scientific content, and I highly recommend subscribing to his channel.
The Bible describes it as burning sulfur raining down from the sky.
There is an archaeology museum here that where the excavations that have taken place here over the years, the artifacts are on display, called the Museum at the Lowest Place on Earth.
I'm going to burn one of these sulfur balls just to show you how flammable they are. I got to be careful because, man, when you get a whiff of these things, it's really nasty.
Don't look back! Don't look back!
Finally, someone who draws the line between the Bible and archaeology in a good way. A purity test on those preserved sulfur balls I was mentioning. There is no other place on earth where the sulfur is so pure as those in Sodom and Gomorrah. Things just always end up being more obvious than mysterious. Thanks for watching our biblical kill count on the channel, and I'll bring you another horror tale from the Bible that will surely be too hot to handle. Until next time.
Things just always end up being more obvious than mysterious. So when you have something described in the Bible and you go to that place and you look it over, you look at the excavation work that's been done, there's always not just a fit, but an obvious fit. Historical source in the Bible that gives us a description of what happened, describing this burning sulfur that is coming down like rain out of the sky. And then in this area, we have this geological phenomenon of these sulfur balls that are preserved in a geological layer and preserved because they were once under the Dead Sea. And so we see very clearly the correlation between the history, the archaeology, and the geology. And so the biblical account is substantiated.
Lot's wife is turned into a pillar of salt for disobeying God. Lot and his daughters flee to the mountains, never to see Abraham again.